DICE has a difficult job balancing all the weapons that are added to Battlefield 1. They need to make sure that they're different enough from one another to really make sure each weapon is viable and interesting to use when you're in a server. And of course, as the game is set during World War I, some historical accuracy does need to be retained, although that rule can be bent a little bit. I'm looking at you, Hellregal. One of the new machine guns coming to the Russian DLC, the MG14 Parabellum, it might be one of those weapons that I think DICE needs to take another look at. At the moment, there are 2 machine guns scheduled to be added with the Russian DLC. Of course, we have the Parabellum, which I'm talking to you about today, and then the Perino 1908. But at the moment, the Perino is absent from the build running on the CTE. Now, this DLC is still over a month away from being released, so it's entirely possible that the weapon isn't quite ready yet, but it could be one of those weapons that DICE is intentionally holding back in order to keep some surprises for later on. That's what they did for the They Shall Not Pass DLC, and to be honest, I don't expect many more maps to be turning up on the CTE either. We've already seen 3 of the 6, and it would be nice if they could hold back some surprises. But let's move on and talk about the MG14 Parabellum now. I'm just going to call it the MG14 from now on. Straight up, it is a beast gun. The weapon itself was initially designed to be fitted to German aircraft in World War I, and it featured a proper water cooling jacket system, but this was later adapted and a new model, the MG14 was produced with a lighter barrel jacket and a mounting rail for telescopic sights. Now, DICE has taken the MG14 model into Battlefield 1, and they've produced 2 variants for us to use, the low weight and the suppressive. The standout feature of the weapon is without a doubt its rate of fire. It's absolutely lethal. It stands at 700 rounds a minute, and that means you can just rip through enemies that are standing in front of you. Now, it's not quite up to pace with the Automatico. That can absolutely destroy infantry at close quarters, but at close to mid-range, the low-weight variant of the MG14 is just incredible. At the moment, I consider it just slightly too powerful, purely based on how fast it can spit out bullets. But it does appear to have a similar damage model to most of the other LMGs. I think it's around a 23 max damage at close range, and then it drops off. The values might be slightly different, but that's what I can gauge from using this thing in-game. The balancing feature that DICE has gone for with the MG14, however, is some rather erratic recoil, and it really needs to be controlled at mid-range if you want to be able to take players down. The recoil just bounces all over the place from left to right, upwards as well, and with just the iron sights on the low-weight version, it's hard enough to hit players at medium to long range. I really wouldn't advise it. And on the suppressive, because you've got a zoomed-in sight, the recoil is even more exacerbated. It can be very difficult to keep track of your targets. However, using this weapon as you would any other weapon in Battlefield 1, most of the time you're standing up and aiming down sights, or you might be hip firing, that's just one way to use the weapon. The MG14 really comes into its own when you stick its bipod out and you sit behind cover and then fire at your targets. The 700 round rate of fire really rips through people then. And it's not just the suppressive variant that comes with a bipod. The low-weight variant comes with a bipod as well, so both of them can be used in very similar ways. If you want to lay down some covering fire, get proned, stick out the bipod on either of these variants, and you're good to go. But of course, it's not just good against infantry, and this is something that I learned playing on the Albion map, but it's also very effective against planes as well. On some of the points on Albion, you're extremely exposed to the sky that's above you. In fact, I think every flag on Albion doesn't have a huge amount of cover on it, and it's very easy for plane users to sort of swoop in with their machine guns, drop some bombs, fly out again, and they've killed a couple of people. But as I've learned over the last few days, if you equip the MG14, if you see a plane coming on a strafing run, get yourself bipoded, point the sights at it, and just start firing. The 700 round a minute rate of fire rips through the wood in those planes, and a lot of them will veer off course. Now, if a few of you do that on one objective, you might do 20 to 30 damage per person if you manage to get all your bullets to hit the plane before the weapon overheats. If 3 of you do that, there's a chance you're going to disable the plane in one strafe and bring the thing crashing down. This thing can be extremely powerful against air targets. If it's enemy infantry that you're looking for though, get yourself set up over in those heavy foot traffic areas, get it bipoded, deploy it down on cover or even prone if you want to. Use either of the variants and you are just going to kill people left, right and centre. The suppressive does feature a proper powered scope, and you can use that against enemies that are far off in the distance, but you still will be fairly inaccurate because there is some spread to the gun. You can use the low weight in close quarters. I prefer the low weight overall, just because I'm coming up against more infantry at close range than I would do at longer range, but either variant here is going to work very well for you. Considering there will be a lot more infantry versus plane combat in the Russian DLC, these LMGs, the MG14 and all of the others that are already available to you, they're going to become very important tools for infantry if you're trying to keep planes away from the objectives, so the infantry that's on the ground can capture those objectives. Really, you need to look at the LMGs now in this DLC as an alternative to AA cannons. There are very few of them so far in this DLC. I think I've only spotted 2 on the new Albion map, and I don't think there was any at all on Lupkow Pass. The meta really does appear to be changing in this DLC. It's now going to be down to support players to think about the planes a hell of a lot more. I think it's very safe to say that at the moment I'm enjoying my time with the MG14, and I'm sure plenty of others are on the CTE as well. That 700 round a minute rate of fire is very hard to say no to, and I guarantee when this weapon drops into the main game that it will become a fan favourite. Now, I think it might be just a little bit too good at the moment, and if you're able to control the recoil effectively, you can land some serious kills. The rate of fire just tears people up, but I'm not sure DICE is really going to change the weapon all that much. Really, the only other weapons that can compete with it when it comes to killing players quickly are the Shoshar, which has a higher damage output, and the BAR, which has a favourable recoil pattern. However, it remains to be seen what DICE is going to do with it. This is all subject to change. That's what the CTE is for. But how do you unlock this new gun, and the 2 variants as well? Well, DICE has added the assignments into the CTE alongside the new maps they're testing, and it's 1 assignment per variant. And at the moment, that makes 2 assignments for the support class, but we are missing the Perino MG, as I mentioned earlier, and we can assume some variants of that will need to be unlocked as well. So likely more to come for the support class. Up first, we have the low-weight variant of the MG14. You need to destroy 2 airplanes with the Madsen MG Trench, and then get 20 kills with the Airburst Mortar. That's right, you heard me correctly. Destroy 2 planes with the Madsen MG Trench. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this DLC is going to have plenty of planes flying around above the infantry, and with less AA cannons to use, it'll turn to the support players with their LMGs to do some damage against them. It looks like DICE is trying to make you do that before you even unlock the MG14, and likely it's a subtle hint to players that they should be doing this all of the time to take down planes. I always shoot at planes when they fly past, but many people don't, and a few infantry players together can very easily bring down a plane if they all concentrate their fire. So this first assignment, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. The suppressive variant is unlocked via getting 40 kills with the Lewis gun low weight, and then you need to perform 50 vehicle repairs. Now, I'm assuming this means repairs with the repair tool outside the vehicle. So the support class again has access to the repair tool, get that thing equipped, stick close to some tanks and repair them as they take damage. Should be able to unlock that one very easily. So there you go, the new MG14 Parabellum, which I think could be one of the best new weapons to come to Battlefield 1 out of the 2 DLCs so far. Let me know what you think of it down below in the comments section, and I'll be there replying to as many as I can. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.